God, that paints a pretty grim picture, doesn't it? When you're paying, $50,000 in insurance premiums, you get $60,000 in interest payments alone, and the payout, the milk price, doesn't cover your costs. So you're losing. Will farmers lose this financial year? I think you probably think that they will. Steve Goodman is a former rural banking advisor, and the last 15 years has been advising farmers across the wider agriculture sector, and is a consultant and runs a very successful business. He joins us now. Steve, g'day and welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, Duncan. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Nice to have you on. Thanks for being available, and thanks for joining us. How tough is it out there for farmers right now?
Well, I think you just heard from your dairy farming caller that things are pretty tough. Part of it, or a big part of it's quite a large increase in costs to run, whether you're running a second beef farm, a dairy farm, or you're a grower running an orchard in Hawke's Bay. The costs have got to the point where they're very difficult to manage.
Yeah, and this is our backbone, right? This is the economy. When this goes quiet, when this tightens up, when there's no money in the rural sector, the country really feels it. So the city's gone, the city's locked down, the city's tight, the city's got no money, the retailers are struggling. But then you go into Main Street in the rural areas, and things have gone really quiet again now too. So you've got the double whammy. What's your advice to farmers? When do things get better? What do you advise them when you get called onto a farm? What do you say to them?
Well, you've got to look at the long-term picture, and it's all about long-term sustainability. And the big problem with costs going up as high as they have, and in some cases product prices coming back significantly, like in the sheep sector, you've got to sort of look at the crystal ball and look at the long term and make decisions based on what long-term prices realistically are in terms of interest rates, which have gone up a lot lately, and what a long-term sheep and cattle prices, or long-term milk payout is, or long-term apple prices. Once costs get to a certain point outside of interest rates, they don't necessarily go down. So you've got to make decisions based on what you know is normalised.
So what this is normalised now, I reckon. You've got normalised cost structures because the prices of things never really, I mean, apart from petrol's gone backwards a bit, but apart from that, cost is the cost, and what it is, which is what it is. And I don't see it as having big drastic reductions. So unless you get some better returns on the farm, I can't see how they can jammy their way out of this. I mean, unless these interest rates fall rapidly, but I don't even see that falling rapidly,
Well, I think you made a comment before that maybe they should be coming down now, because if you look around, go out, walk around the streets and talk to people, you can see that things are pretty bad. But the Reserve Bank obviously doesn't see it that way. They might be leaving it a bit too long. But I can't see interest rates coming down in a hurry once they do start falling.
Yeah, but people have signed up to fixed terms too. I mean, it doesn't have an immediate impact because people have got fixed terms. So, that's why they've got to boom now. I know that inflation is still at 4% or whatever, but if this was in Europe, I wonder if farmers would be marching outside the Reserve Bank and tearing the whole thing down. We're so compliant about this. We were too generous in printing money. Now we've been too slow to bring them down, and it's a nightmare.
Well, you'd like to think they know what they're doing, but they're pretty experienced people in there. There are reasons for doing what they do, and they have a lot of control over what the banks do as well in terms of how the banks operate. So they're a big player in the economy.
The banks. Interesting. You mentioned the banks there. Is the rural sector getting a good deal with the banks? The way I look at it is that there's a margin there. Farmers have a higher interest rate margin than those city slickers with the mortgages. It's tough on them. And also there's the margin because they're an Australian bank. They'll pull $10 billion out of the New Zealand economy this year in profits alone. $10 billion. It's pretty hard to see, isn't it, when we're facing real struggle.
So the reality is the banks want businesses to do well, and they're working very hard to retain their client bases manage their business in a sustainable way too. A lot of what they're dealing with is legislation that's been passed upon them where they have to operate in a certain way, price to risk. They have to lift their margins if the risk goes up. They have to, they're not allowed to lend to loss-making businesses so much as they were in the old days. So when businesses start losing money, they sort of get themselves into a snooker because of new legislation by the Reserve Bank. That's how I understand it. So it's not easy being a banker.
No, and look, we're lucky we've got strong banks. I mean, at the end of the day, we need strong banks. If we have banks that are tumbling over, then we're in real trouble. So I'm not necessarily unnecessarily putting the boot into banks. I'm just saying that, boy, it's a big headline figure when they take that money out of New Zealand, isn't it?
Well, you've got to put it in perspective relative to the size of the business. It sounds like a lot of money, but as a percentage of what they're probably not that much. It's a realistic return on capital that they need to have to carry out the risk that they take lending to people in the market. There's always room to improve. I think it's a lot of this is to do with the legislation they have to operate within, and that possibly needs to change.
Are you talking about the Reserve Bank, the requirements of the banks?
Well, there's a whole lot of things that the banks are required to do.